and welcome to Kilroy's Key 3. Now, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I'll put a link in the description to see some of my past Kilroy's Key 3, including the introductory video where I kind of talk about what my intent is with doing a Kilroy's Key 3. Basically, it's instead of doing a top 10 list or a top 5 list or a top 100 list, I like to take 3 games and, kind of compare and contrast with my point of view or my POV, or what it really means is P for presentation, O for operation, and V for value. So presentation is basically what it sounds like. It's the components, it's the counters, it's the map, it's the player aids, it's the overall look and feel of the game. The operation is gameplay. How does it play? How does it simulate the historical event that it's meant to address? Or if it's not doing a historical event, if it's doing sports, or if it's just doing general gameplay, how is the operation? How are the mechanics? And are they novel? Are they unique? Are they a system? Anything that deals kind of with the gameplay or the operation of the game. And V is value, which means, replayability, bang for the buck. Is it a definitive game on that subject? So, it has value because, this is the only game you're going to need on that topic, because this covers everything, right? So that's my POV, point of view, or the basis for my Key 3, all right? Now, you only see 2 games in front of you. Why don't we have 3 games? Well, because there is a third game that I was going to bring up, but I don't have it, and that is the Compass edition, or Compass Games version of their take on Stuka, okay? We have JU87 Stuka Ace from Lock and Load Publishing, and we have Stuka Leader from DVG Games. And I will be upfront with you, and I'll put it in the video. I'll put all the coverage I've done on both these games, because it's been quite a bit between unboxings and gameplay and the like. I've put quite a bit out there on this, so I'll put links to all that so you can see how it plays, or what I think about it, and you can see the components up close and personal. But and I will be upfront about it all, that both of these were sent to me by the publisher, so I want to thank them for that. Compass didn't send me one, so I don't know if Compass sends anything to anybody, but I'm not holding that against them. But since I don't have their game, I really can't compare it or talk about it much. I will say, though, it is interesting that all 3 of those games came out around the same time frame. This one just came out not too long ago. However, it's been in production and there's been some delays, and you can check out my videos on it and find out all the scoop or dirt, or whatever we want to call it, about its delay of getting here. But it was actually developed in pre-production version, which I played about the same time that this came out. And I'm not sure the exact date of the Compass version of their Stuka take on this, but I think it was around the same time frame, which is kind of reminiscent of Hollywood, right? Hollywood comes out in pairs and threes and what have you. I remember there was like 2 or 3 asteroid movies, around Armageddon, and that came out. And of course, there was Wide Earp, and what was it? There was a Kevin Costner, and then there was the Kurt Russell Wide Earp versions that came out. So Hollywood loves to come out with multiple takes on the same thing. There was actually a couple of Capote movies that came out around the same time, Truman Capote. So this is kind of interesting that in the gaming world, especially the wargaming world, we're having some of this same thing going on here. So enough of all that. Let's get to my POV, or point of view. So the first one, and I got my keys here to give out. And since Compass isn't here, sorry. And I have asked them. I didn't ask them about Stuka, but I have asked them in the past. But that's been a long time, so because you get kind of frustrated to keep asking stuff. So Compass, unfortunately, is going to get 1 key for everything. Let's put this up a little bit here so you can see where the one key goes. There's the one key for presentation, one key for operation, and one key for value. Now that might be unfair, but you know, hey, they're not here, they can't complain about it. And if they want to chime in. And you know what? I'll redo this whole video. You get me a copy of that, I'll redo this whole video. I have looked at it a little bit, and it is interesting how it is yet a different take on this same subject. So now, enough of that. So now let's get to the real keys. I got to give out the 3s and the 2s for JU Stuka Ace and Stuka Leader. Now, Stuka Leader comes from a long line of family of leader games. This is an ongoing development. This might actually be one of the older systems that's in the DVG library. I think that Dan Verson actually did one of his earlier leader games when he was still designing for GMT, maybe even before. So this has a long history, and it has developed over the years. In fact, this Stuka Leader has this leader version, Stuka Leader, has some things in it that aren't in the most recent edition, which I think was Zero Leader. And Zero Leader added some stuff that wasn't in the previous Leader edition. So this series keeps on developing, but at its core, it's got some of the same type of mechanics. On the other hand, JU87 Stuka Ace is a totally new take. This is something totally different than what Lock and Load has done. Lock and Load is known for its small unit tactical games, or what I call small unit is platoon on down, like so platoon, squad, and down to the individual, and like their squad level games are like Lock and Load Tactical. Their platoon level games are World at War. They have the World War II version of it. They have the Modern War, World War 85. So they have other games and have done a lot of other stuff, but those are what they're known for. That's kind of their sweet spot. This is something different than that or any of the other stuff they've done. This is a solitaire game that is based on cards, and so not counters but cards. This is a solitaire game that is really based on a system. It's based on a kind of a sequence of play, but it's based with counters. I mean, there's cards. They're the cards for the planes. So they're part of it, but you're not really using the cards as the randomizer or as showing a lot of events. There's an event deck, but this whole deck is multi-use and is basically the AI in the game, the events, and everything else. So some similarities, but a lot of differences there. So this is something totally new to the stage. So on presentation value, this is counters and lots of them, and cards for representing the planes and their attribute, and the pilots and their attributes. This is mainly card base. Very few counters. The counters are really just markers. Of course, a lot of counters in here. There's a lot of markers, but there's a lot of your bogeys and your sights and everything that you're going to engage with is in here. The counters in here are mostly markers, and this is more of a point of view. See what I did there? A POV point of view type game. So on presentation value, there's more in one of these boxes, and in fact, there's so much more that I can't even get it out half the time. I mean, and see, this is just jam-packed full of stuff. In fact, I've got so much stuff of this because I've got all the expansions for this, which there were many. I had to use a Warfighter box that I pulled out and emptied out to put in the rest of the stuff here. And this is thick as a brick. So presentation-wise, this is nice. You've got counters, you've got cards representing the different pilots and planes. There is a tactical display that you use to generate, that basically is the location of all the combat. The presentation value of this is very nice as well. I mean, you got spiral-bound rule books in here, which are very nice. You have a board, which I have the mat for it. You've got a lot of nice player aids in here for your planes as well. They're not cards; they're player aids. And you have the cards, and the cards are nice. And there's different kind of cards. There's flight cards that really do most of the heavy lifting in here. There's target cards. There's action cards. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. But as far as presentation, I'm probably going to give a little bit of a nod to Stuka Leader. Even though his presentation sometimes gets in the way because there's so much in there. I'm probably going to play this more. I'm probably going to get this out and play this many more times than I'll play this, because this takes just unloading that box and just to think, oh God, I got to put all that back. That makes me at least not want to play it as much, because it's more of an undertaking. This is easy to pull out, set up, and play. Okay, so it's really tough there. It's a really close call, but I'm going to give the 3 keys to Stuka, and I'm going to give 2 keys to Stuka. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Stuka. Does that clear it all up? And I'm going to give the 2 keys to Stuka Ace and the 3 keys to Stuka Leader. But it's really close. I mean, this is almost a tie. It's just that there's more stuff here. And if you're familiar with this system, it's easier to see what's going on there. Now, on presentation-wise, well, I'll get that to when I get to the operation, because that kind of fits into the operation. So now let's go to my O. P is presentation, O is operation. That's gameplay. Now these are different takes on this environment or on being a Stuka pilot. This one is much more of a point of view. I mean, it puts you in the cockpit of a Stuka plane, and you actually eventually go into the point where you are controlling other Stuka planes as well. But I mean, you're still from this kind of perspective of point of view perspective of you being in the cockpit, and you're engaging with the environment and interacting with what's coming at you in the different events. This right here is more operational. This is you're a flight commander. You're controlling several planes over a course of time. You can play one-off missions. You can play one-off missions here. Both of these have kind of a legacy or a campaign feel. Both of them have campaign books. Well, this has a campaign book. This has campaign charts. And all the expansions add more to that, where you have a series of missions that you go on, and you can pick short, medium, or long. A short might be as small as like 2 days, so you're just doing 2 missions. And long can be a longer campaign, but you're in the same theater. This one has a book of missions, and it might have 5 or 6 missions per that campaign, and both of them are all historical, but they do them in a little bit different ways. You know, this has player aid cards, and this has a theater book. So operational wise, it's a different perspective, right? This one is, again, you feel like you're a flight leader. This one, you feel like a pilot, okay? And so for operational and for gameplay, this is a tried and true system, but I'm going to give the nod to Stuka Ace, just because I can pick this up and I can just play one mission if I want to. And I can do that, set that up relatively easy, get it done, understand it, and then put it all back in the box. Or I can do a legacy campaign and start that and mark off where I left off, and then pick it up when I want to pick it up. This one is going to be more of an endeavor. This is if you want to do a long campaign, it's going to take up some space. It's going to stay on the board, and it's not as easy to get into as this. Now, the rule books. This rule book is better. I mean, that's not saying a ton. I mean, it is a better rule book. It's a fine rule book, and I like the Spiral Bound. DVG has issues with the rule books. They kind of have they're kind of set in their ways of how they lay stuff out. This rule book's actually better. I actually think the Zero rule book might have even been better than this one, so it might have been a little bit of a downgrade. But this is much better than the earlier Leader series. But it still is, if you're not familiar with how to play this game, you picking up that rule book and just jumping into it, it's going to take a little bit. This one, you can pick up that rule book and you can get into it. So that kind of fits into operations as well. So the 3 keys are going to go to Stuka Ace, and then the 2 keys are going to go to Stuka Leader. So now let's go to value. So value is replayability. How does it simulate things? As I said, there's a different perspective on these. This one is more of a operations, more of a flight leader. You're controlling several flights over time, managing the logistics. The core to this game is managing stress. The more the pilots fight, the more that they go on missions, the more they get into engagements, they're going to build up stress, and it's going to be tougher for them to go on the next mission. And you really have a roster of pilots that you're trying to manage. So you're trying to manage planes and resources and pilots and stress. This one is more of a legacy game. This is more of a career game where and has more of an RPG-ish feel where you're starting off as a single pilot, you're a wingman, and then eventually you get more responsibility and control other planes, but you really get that feel of being in the cockpit and going on the mission and encountering what you need to encounter and doing what you need to do over the site. Now, both of these kind of have build outs. You get to build out your plane as far as armaments and skills and what have you for the pilots and the planes. So there's some similarity there. This is really close on both of these as far as where's your value. There's so much in this box. In fact, as I said, that kind of gets in its way sometimes. But even if you don't buy any of the expansions, there's still a lot of gameplay in this box. So there's a lot of value here in that regard. This right here, there's still a lot of value. And to me, I think the value might is really close, and it looks at differently. This one, I can probably play through everything in a shorter amount of time, and still replay it and experience new things. But at some point, I will kind of been there, done that after a very, very long time. And the thing is, I'll get to that sooner because this is easier to get to the board. This one is going to take me a long time to get to play everything. In fact, I'll never play everything. With all the expansions I have, I'm just admitting to it now. I'll never be able to play all the stuff in here, especially replay it. And replaying a campaign is unique in every sense. So it's really tough here. In fact, I'm going to kind of wimp out, and I'm going to call it a tie. I'm going to call it a tie, and so I guess with the tie, they each get. Do they each get 3? You tie for first place. You each get 3. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll call it a tie, and I'm going to wimp out. I mean, again, both of them have a lot of game value. This one, I could see in my lifetime having played through all the scenarios, through all the different campaigns and the different missions in those campaigns. It would take me quite some time, but I can see doing it because this does not take as long to play. This plays really quick, and once you know what you're doing, and it's got a quick setup. This I will never get done. So which has more value? I mean, this has got potential value, and this has like real value. So I'm giving it a call. I'm whipping it out. You correct me where I'm wrong on both of those, and maybe the Compass in absentia maybe should have won some of this. So that leaves Stuka Ace with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that leaves Stuka Leader with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you have it. So that's it's a toss-up. If you want to be in the seat of the plane and experiencing it in a much streamlined, quicker, fast fashion, with a kind of novel set of cards and has a different look of things, Stuka Ace is your pick. If you want something that has got just a ton of stuff in it, and there's a lot of campaigns, there's a lot of directions to take this, and you can add on the expansions at your leisure, and some expansions you may never even get to, but they both have a lot of replayability. I just feel like this one, over the long course, playing the same mission over and over is might have a tad bit more replayability than this, because you have a set of cards that you're dealing with. But I don't know. I just feel I will get through everything here. I'm going to try to do that. This, I know I'm not. But anyway, I hope that gives you a perspective. I hope that gives you my point of view, my POV, and I hope it gives you some ideas on which one of these ones you might want to pick up or take a look at, or neither. If I turned you off to them, hopefully I didn't. I like both of them. I would recommend both of them. And you can have both of them and still enjoy stuff, because they add different things and different perspectives, and that's what I'm all about on my channel, is, again, different perspectives. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, and hey, Compass, come on, get in the game. Take care. Thanks for watching.